Okay, this is unbelievable. Second week in October and still over 100 degrees in the Las Vegas Valley, which makes this another day that I can continue to work out a streamlined approach to Mummy's Forehead. And as you can see, we're at the Deer Creek Catch Pen Loop Trailhead. It's a parking area on Deer Creek Road in the Mount Charleston Wilderness outside of Las Vegas. And what we're going to do is hug this eastern ridge of 7 Mile Canyon. There you see Mummy's nose ahead. We're going to hug the base of this eastern ridge for about 500 feet. And then when this little road, Forest Road 092A, divides and branches off to the western ridge over here, we're going to ascend this eastern ridge in a nice gradual ascent gully and take the eastern ridge up to approximately 9,000 feet, 9,200 feet elevation, and then try something new. We're going to take um, the topographical map contour lines at the 9,200 foot level and take that all the way over to uh, the Mummy's Forehead Summit Approach Gully, and then take that gully, see how far we get. So here we go. Okay, once you cross Deer Creek Road, you're on this Forest Road 092. You're going to continue past these boulders up the forest road rather than getting hung up in all the other options that you see to the right. Okay, so just continue to hug the base of this ridgeline, and we're going to look for a divide in the road. That's where we're going to ascend the ridgeline. Nice gradual ascent point. Okay, here we are where the road divides. Forest Road 092 heads off to the right toward the western ridgeline. Forest 092A. Let's see, let's go just a little bit further here to the true divide. Yes, here you see the divide. Forest Road 092 to the right, heading to the western ridge of 7 Mile Canyon. Forest 092A to the left, heading up a little bit along the base of the eastern ridge. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to take a left up this incline, look for a nice summit approach gully, and get to the summit of the eastern ridge without any downhill. So this is the most gradual, streamlined way up to that ridge. Here we go. Okay, after a little meandering and poking around, finally I land in this nice gradual summit approach gully. Let's get to the top of the eastern ridge now. Okay, just about 25 minutes brings us up to the summit of the eastern ridge. What I did is I took a angle to the right when I hit the summit of that gully we were in, that approach gully. And now here we are on the eastern ridge. Look at the awesome view, Mummy's Toe, and then Mummy's main summit. Between the two is where we want to traverse. So we'll find the spot where we begin to angle over. Yeah, there it is. Limestone pillar marks the point where we angle to the left off this ridge and begin to traverse the terrain over to the approach gully we're looking for. And that gully would be just over this ridge and below the main summit cliffs. There's Mummy's main summit. By the way, just for the parts of Mummy, there's Mummy's Toe. Beautiful hike that you take from the Mummy Springs area, basically. Goes straight up. There's Mummy's main summit, 11,020 feet approximately. And here's the opening we're looking for. Mummy's Toe is here, and behind Mummy's Toe is Mummy's forehead. I mean, not Mummy's toe, Mummy's nose. And behind Mummy's nose is Mummy's forehead. So we'll see all those features closer, depending on how far we get today. There's the western ridge of 7 Mile Canyon. We're on the eastern ridge, and 7 Mile Canyon is below. There's the Highway 95 corridor area that takes you north to Reno. So, yeah, here we are. This is what you can see from here at this point. Just to get bearings. So let's continue on up this ridgeline till we reach that pillar that's going to mark our point where we turn, take a left, angle left, and continue along the eastern base of Mummy's Nose Cliffs. Here we go. Okay, another high point on the eastern ridge, and let's see that pillar that marks the beginning of our traverse. Yes, here it is. When you hit this pillar, limestone pillar, that's where you take angle left off the eastern ridge and begin to traverse the eastern side of Mummy's Nose. So let's continue on. Just a quick 360. You know the reference points by now, so I won't point them out. And by the way, here between these two high points, angle left down that approach gully to this 7 Mile Canyon eastern ridge. Okay, let's continue. Okay, here we are at that limestone pillar marker where we begin to angle off to the left side of Mummy's Nose Cliffs. And we're going to continue on the contour line, which puts us at approximately 9,200 feet at this point. So we're going to see if we can continue along that 9,200 foot contour line all the way over to the Mummy's Forehead Summit Approach Gully. And by the way, it took about an hour, just a little over an hour, to reach this point from the Catch Pen Loop trailhead on Deer Creek Road. Okay, we're skirting the east side of Mummy's Nose Cliff, which you see above, and skirting about the 9,300-foot level. You can't always go by the contour lines, I've found, because they don't show you where the limestone boulders are and the brush barriers. And you can see I'm at this point skirting an area that is it's not only around 9,300 feet, but it is an area that has less obstacles. You see fallen trees, all kinds of obstacles here, steep drop-offs. We're looking down at the Mummy's Forehead Summit Approach Gully down in that direction, and my goal is to continue at this altitude and see if we can meet that summit approach gully without descending downward. So we'll see if we can meet it at the 9,300 foot altitude. Continuing on. Just for the record, the sweet spot on this slope seems to be between 9,300 feet and 9,400 feet so far. And you can see the approach gully, the forehead approach gully below us ascending, and hopefully we'll hit that gully somewhere ahead at this same altitude. That's the goal. And then here you can see the Mummy's Nose cliffs above us. We've been skirting the east side of those cliffs. And let's see if I can turn here. It is a somewhat slant incline that I'm traversing, but not too horrible at this altitude. So there you have it. This seems to be working. So far, under 2 hours total time to get this far, which is fairly good timing. This strategy is working very well so far. And you see, fairly gradual. We are at about 9,300 feet. So we stayed within 100 feet altitude variation all the way, which is nice, all the way from that limestone pillar. Now, some landmarks ahead. Here you see a cliff. We need to, this is one of the, well, it's the south edge cliff of Mummy's Nose. There's Mummy's Nose. And this is the south edge of the cliff. And you see another high point below. I believe we need to either, well, we'll need to see what side of that high point that we want to be on, that lower high point. But we do want to skirt the left side of this upper cliff as we continue upward. And you can see, I believe we're looking at the Mummy's chin area up here. And then to the right would be the forehead. So maybe, we'll see as we get closer. The gully, the main approach gully, is just below us now. So we actually have continued at an altitude where we will meet that gully without losing any altitude. So that's pretty significant. And as I mentioned, it's about 2 hours into this. So not bad timing either. all the way from Deer Creek Road. And I don't know if one could um, get to this approach gully at a point. There's the main summit of Mummy, by the way. I don't know if someone could get to this approach gully at a point near the base of that cliff on the right in less than 2 hours, even coming from Lee Canyon. So we just don't know, um, but we're going to find out a whole lot of things very quickly as we're about to hit some new ground up ahead that we have not yet traversed. And by the way, I don't know if I actually showed what's behind me, but we've just covered this area. This is the nature of the slope we have been traversing, and it is fairly tame. There have been a few steep spots, not much. So I do like this altitude, about 93 to 9,400 feet along this slope from the limestone pillar on 7 Mile Canyon's eastern ridgeline. Okay, we're officially further than I've ever been. And here's some important reference points. There's that cliff. Remember the lower cliff? I wasn't sure whether to go above it or to the left. And now I can see very clearly you got to go to the left. What you're looking at ahead is the summit approach gully. And here you see it below us. And we'll trace it up. There's some trees, intervening trees here, but yeah, tracing the gully upward. And as you can see, it skirts the left side of that lower cliff area. The upper cliff is to the right, and then continues to wind around upward. So we are about 1,500 feet below the elevation of Mummy's chin and Mummy's forehead. So this is good. We're hitting the approach gully right at our 9,300 foot level that we have been wanting to sustain all the way from the limestone pillar on the 7 Mile Canyon Eastern Ridge. And as you can see now, that approach gully is going to get very steep, but still fairly gradual. We'll see what it looks like in there. Looks like there's there's a lot of brush in there too. So who knows what we're going to find. Let's continue. And by the way, let's take a look, 360-degree view, just to see the totality of where we are. There's Mummy's Nose, Eastern Cliffs. And let's see if I can turn here. It's not a really good place to stand, as you can see. Okay, and this is the terrain I've been traversing along the 93 to 9,400 foot level. Yeah, so there you have it. And the approach gully below us. And just for reference, there through the trees is that house that I've been calling the Camp Stimson Director's Quarters. I could be wrong, but yeah, that's what I'm calling it. Made of the same building materials, and I think you need to actually go through Camp Stimson to get to the approach road that will get to that building. So that's why I think it's connected with Camp Stimson. Okay, onward. And so here we are now in the Mummy's Forehead Approach Gully. And yeah, the elevation is just under 9,400 feet. So we have, regardless of whether it's the fastest way or not, and it's just a little over 2 hours from Deer Creek Road, we have managed to keep to our predetermined track. Here's where we came from, and we've managed to keep to an elevation between, we wanted to go between 92 and 93, or 92 and 9,400 feet, and we've done that. So onward, now we're going to head up this gully and just see how far we can get and what the terrain looks like above. Okay, since you probably haven't seen this stretch before, this final 1,500 feet to Mummy's chin and forehead, I'm going to show a little more video. Yeah, there's Mummy's Nose Cliffs. Here's the Summit Approach Gully heading downward. There's Angel Peak below. And yeah, once I got beyond that little area just below us, where there were a lot of boulders and brush to navigate, things opened up a little bit. So this little part of the section looks pretty nice heading upward. And now we are above 9,400 feet. So onward. Okay, now we're at a higher elevation around 9,600 feet. And there you can see better view of the Mummy's Nose Cliffs. And then looking downward toward Deer Creek Road. The sheep range to the left. But this is kind of a curious place because it looks almost like there is a bypass route up this slope, but I don't know what things will look like higher on the slope. It could actually be a nice route to the chin. We don't know. But over here is the gully, and I had to use part of this route to skirt the gully, but where this drop off is. Now I could go into the gully again and continue up the gully. I think I might do that for now. At some point though, it'd be interesting to go up this direction and see where this little route leads. You can see some vertical areas in the gully ahead, but I'm thinking maybe the gully will wind around below them and continue to ascend without having to go up those vertical areas. We don't know. There up at the summit is, I believe, would be Mummy's chin. One of these two features. Maybe that's the chin and that's the forehead. We don't know. Got to get closer. So let's continue up the gully for now and just see if the gully has a natural bypass to those vertical areas above. Okay, as I continue to wind upward, You see what looks like a potential barrier up here. Yeah, but maybe there is a passageway over here. We don't know. We'll find out. If not, maybe this could be an alternate route up above that barrier and then continue on. We just don't know. We'll test it out and see what we can see. Up here, I believe that's Mummy's chin. So, yeah, getting some good views, closing in, and take a look at this 360 degree. There is Mummy's Mummy's nose cliffs. And then here we are looking down the gully I've been ascending, and I'm about 9,800 feet at this point. And you see straight down to Gas Peak, just above Decatur Avenue, north end of Las Vegas. And then we've got some really interesting terrain up in this area. And I don't know if this is a possible route to Mummy's Summit. I don't know. It could be a dead end. There are a lot of cliffs that are surrounding the summit, so we just don't know. Anyway, here we are back at the Mummy's Forehead and Chin Approach Gully and continuing toward what looks like it could be a barrier, or maybe there's a little passage up there. Well, what I suspected was true. There is an impassable barrier in this gully right up there. Now, a potential way to get around it would be up to the right, the left, or I could backtrack a little and head up that slope we were looking at earlier, just around the corner, um, left around the corner of this limestone formation. So that's what I think I'm going to do. And there's a good shot down the canyon at Angel Peak. As you can see, a lot of vertical areas around here. But there are also some features that one could circumvent potentially. We don't know for sure. Okay, I am above that barrier in the gully. I ate up a lot of time getting here. Part of it was because I left my gloves at the last place or one of the last places I did my video and had to backtrack. And then I had to do some route finding to find the way up above that barrier you saw a moment ago. And yeah, there was a slope on the right, and I've created a little cairn here that marks where you're going to need to angle over to the slope, because if you're heading down this gully, you're going to end up at that pour over, a pretty substantial drop off. So yeah, this is where you turn, catch the slope, and then go down the slope that is on the east or right side of this gully. But yeah, let's continue up a little further. I'm running low on time today, so may need to come back and see if we can push a little further. But it's looking great up ahead. Well, as you can see, the way is wide open before me, but I've reached my turnaround point. Yeah, and looking in this direction, this is where, above that ridge, the close ridge, you see some limestone in the distance there through the trees. That is approximately where the saddle is from Lee Canyon, from the Lee Canyon route. So let's move around here. Here you see we're looking over at the cliffs of Mummy's Nose. And then over to a spectacular down canyon view. This is down the canyon I've been ascending, and yeah, we're looking at about 10,000 feet elevation right now. So I'm around 1,000 feet, maybe a little more below uh, Mummy's chin, Mummy's nose. Mummy's forehead, chin and forehead. Here's some things to point out here. Down in this direction, you see that road? That's the road that leads up from Camp Stimson over to that house that I've been calling the director's house. And then down this direction, there is the Camp Stimson parking area on Deer Creek Road. That's a long way. And then Angel Peak, and behind Angel Peak is the northern Las Vegas Valley, and you can see very faintly there's the pointy Gas Peak, which is right above the upper north end of Decatur Boulevard. And so in the haze in this direction beyond Angel Peak is the Las Vegas Valley. And then circling around, yeah, yeah, that's the route up to the main summit of Mummy. Wow, yeah, you're getting into pretty technical rock climbing. And by the way, yeah, um, I was wrong about the director's house. That's the director's house. So that road that we saw below is actually the road that leads down from Camp Stimson to Deer Creek Road. So yeah, there are the landmarks. Hey, there's a bit of an echo here. Um, anyway, yeah, now the goal is to head back down this canyon and see if we can navigate around, especially that pour over, hit the right spot to do that, and then find the 9,300 foot level in the canyon and then begin to traverse back over to the eastern ridge of 7 Mile Canyon, where we'll descend and end up at the Catchpen Loop trailhead on Deer Creek Road. So there you have it. Let's see how that all pans out. And of course, the most important navigational aspect of our strategy of heading down this canyon, we're way up at 10,000 feet, is to angle over to the left and miss that pour over, which is like, no, you can't go down the pour over. Okay, checking in part way down this gully. Look at this pillar, pretty awesome. Anyway, yeah, it's a lot faster on the way down. That's not because I'm sliding, it's just because you can see what's in front of you and below you and your footholds. In fact, speaking of seeing what's below you, I believe that my little marker, here's my little cairn, tells me where I need to veer to the left to bypass that pour over. So all is well. And this is just the most beautiful place. Definitely bristlecone pines all around us. Some of the bristlecone pines in this forest are over 3,000 years old. Pretty amazing. Okay, let's continue on down. Let's get to that cairn. Okay, here we are at the cairn. I had visions of missing this and heading down in this direction and looking over the edge of that pour over. Then having to backtrack, but no, here's the cairn. And what I need to do is circle around the left edge of this tree and then down the slope to the lower portion of this gully. And let's look around real quick. There are some curious potential routes up to the main summit area of Mummy, but that's a future exploration. Okay, let's go ahead and continue down, and I'll check in when we hit the gully below that pour over and then begin to head down the gully. Just wanted to catch a look at this slope that we're going down as we head down to the gully. And yeah, this is one of the steepest slopes I've been on. Not quite as steep as the north side of North Sister, but yeah, it's fairly steep. Okay, down we go. Okay, here we are at the cairn that marks the decision point. And it's a decision point whether to cut across the slopes here and go down 3 Mile Canyon's eastern ridge or continue down this gully to Upper Camp Stimson. And boy, that's a tough one. I think I could be down. Either way, I think I'll be back in about 2.5 hours from now. So, yeah, let's go ahead and cut across the slope. And we'll stay at the 93 to 9,400 foot level. And hopefully 2.5 hours will get us down there. Back to Deer Creek Road, Catchpen Loop, Trailhead. So here we go. Okay, I'm not sure, but I think I'm back on the eastern ridge of 7 Mile Canyon. That is just amazing. It only took me 40 minutes from the time that I left the Mummy's Forehead Summit Approach Gully, which is pretty amazing. So let's see if this is indeed that ridge or if I still need to go one ridge over. I don't think so, because Mummy's nose is right up there, which means this very well could be the eastern ridge. We'll go down a bit just to double check. We want to see that limestone pillar, and we are about 200 feet above it according to my altimeter. So yeah, this was really streamlined. And now it's downhill. If this is the eastern ridge, it's downhill all the way, and we'll be back within an hour. So that means an hour and 40 minutes return trip from the Mummy's Forehead Summit Approach Gully. Okay, let's find out if we are indeed on the eastern ridge of 7 Mile Canyon. And here we are back at the Catch Pen Loop Trailhead on Deer Creek Road. Took less than 2 hours to make it all the way from the high point in the gully, the Mummy's Forehead Summit Approach Gully. Make it all the way from that high point back to this point. So this concludes this adventure, and I think that it's still worth streamlining this route. If we make it up there in 2 hours, that would be amazing. So we'll see. I need a longer day though to work things out. So that may be next summer.